Today we are setting out on the longest trip that the Bronco Raptor has ever been on. This Bronco just hit 1,000 miles and we're about to be taking it on an 8.5-hour trip one way. So within the next few days, we're gonna be starting in central Tennessee and going all the way up to northern West Virginia to go visit some family. But I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to get a full long-term road trip review out of the Bronco Raptor. As you guys already know, the Bronco Raptor is completely stock, so I haven't done anything to it aside from abuse it a little bit on the trails. So I'm super excited to see what kind of driving characteristics it's really going to have long term and see if it's any more of a comfortable or more suitable ride for these long road trips as compared to the Rubicon 392. Now with this one, it's just fixed up a little too much to be taken at 8 hours. Straight pop tuned, big tires, mud tires at that, and it's pretty loud. This still has some pretty annoying wind noise, but for the most part, it's pretty bearable. So for this trip, we're gonna be going over 530 miles one way. So this will be over a 1,000 mile trip. Obviously, we're gonna need to get gas to get started in this Bronco Raptor. Typically, it ranges about 250 miles per tank. So we're gonna go ahead and fill up now and see how many times we have to fill up to get there. We should only have to fill up twice, counting this time, so we'll see how that goes. Well, so far we've been over 150 miles and we are in Kentucky. For the last 45 minutes or so, we've just been on back roads, and I definitely don't mind. The Bronco Raptor is way more at home on roads like this than the highway, the interstate, that's for sure. These seats I've talked about before, they are extremely comfortable, a bit more comfortable than the Rubicon 392, but still after about an hour and a half, 2 hours, they aren't the most comfortable in the world, so that's something to keep in mind. And I can't help but notice the slightest vibration in the front whenever we're going at interstate speeds, so basically anything above 65. The front end just has a little bit of a vibration, almost like the wheels and tires aren't 100% balanced. That could be in part to me taking it off-road and beating on it a little bit, or just they aren't balanced perfectly from the factory. I know that happens from time to time, so I definitely don't doubt that as a possibility. But for now, the Bronco Raptor is doing great so far. We still have 170 miles worth of range for fuel, and everything's going pretty smoothly. So we have made it to the second fuel stop. We still got about 4 hours left. I found out that this fuel tank is 20.9 gallons, I believe, right at 20 gallons. And the Rubicon 392's fuel tank is 21.6 or 21.9 gallons. So they're really similar fuel tank size. This does have a little bit longer range because it gets 15 miles a gallon versus the Rubicon getting 14. But in our current configuration, the Rubicon gets about 10. So it's actually doing pretty good so far, and I have no complaints about it on the street. It's actually really comfortable, and it rides just as good as a normal SUV would on the street. I actually borrowed a Bronco Sport, so basically like a Renegade. Borrowed one of those from work last year to drive all the way to Memphis and back. And I'll definitely say this has been more comfortable than that Bronco Sport, just in terms of how it handles and everything like that. So it has a lot of the characteristics of a traditional SUV, even though it's extremely capable off-road. One last gas stop before we get there, and just so you guys know, you know, gas prices are varying depending on where we're at, but right here they're $2.95. The other places were $2.65 today, but only 50 bucks to fill it up because we're just using 87. And for those of you that have been questioning me, 87 plus. So until it gets tuned, no reason to put 93 in it. And it's actually doing really good. It's been a lot of fun, but I am excited to go ahead and get where we're trying to be. Well, a couple days has gone by since we got here, and to be honest, I haven't driven this thing much, just took it out into a field to have a little bit of fun. But other than that, we haven't really drove it. So today we're gonna set back out on the road to go another 550 miles. Just like whenever we drove up here, it took, right at 9 hours. So we're gonna have another 9-hour trip on the way back. And after that, I'll be able to give you guys my final conclusion on how this thing actually handles, drives, and all the characteristics on the road. So we're at gas stop number 1 on the way home. We still have over 6 hours and about 400 and some miles left. But to fill this thing up, I've been surprised every time. About $50 fills it up and you are good to go for over 250 miles. So you really can't complain about that. Overall, so far, the ride quality has just been absolutely amazing. Way better than anything else, honestly, I've owned on the road, especially with these potholes in West Virginia and Kentucky. It's super impressive. So the on-road characteristics of this thing, they've just blown me away, that's for sure. And to think that it's as capable as it is off-road and still yet so easy to drive is pretty impressive. Right now we're at 1,827 miles. We've got 264 miles until empty. Let's see what kind of fuel economy we've been seeing. 13.6 miles a gallon, which it's still in its break-in period, I guess, so it's not horrible. Still way better than 10 miles a gallon in the Jeep, and we were getting around 13 in the Defender, so better than those two, but still not very good. And that's with me just using adaptive cruise control, and we've been going about 80 the whole way.
I think that's why I like hotels so much. Like, I'm a hotel snob.
Right, like a dope hotel.
Yeah.
When you go in there, you feel good.
Nothing makes me happy, man. And it's like, especially
I study these things called ascent narratives. So ascent narratives are when people levitate in the Christian tradition. People either levitate or they have they see things that they call angels or demons and things like this. And I was in the sense that it motivates people to transform.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you.
So, I want to take it back to that because a lot of this is probably hard to follow for people that aren't like well read in this. When you say that they have been engineering or orchestrating public perception of this experience from the beginning, what's the earliest known instance of this?
And then I start to study UFOs thinking that they're not real, thinking that it's just a new form of religion. And then quickly having people come into my research sphere who are, part of CIA, part of FBI, that kind of thing. And then getting a shock that, whoa, this could be dangerous and maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
And just like that, we are finally back. And the Bronco Raptor now has over 2,184 miles on it, which is pretty crazy. Well, it is the next day here, but before we dive into the nitty gritty, I've got to thank today's video sponsor, Oadro. Now, they offer a few different automotive accessories, but their main thing is floor mats. And today, we've got floor mats for a car that you guys don't see very often. A lot of you probably haven't even seen the Camaro, but to be honest, it's really the workhorse of the channel. The Camaro doesn't receive much love here on the channel, but here recently I've started fixing it up. We've got a cold air intake, we've got a different exhaust, got the 2 SS wheels, we've got the new seat covers which look absolutely awesome in here, and now we're going to have some nice floor mats. Now this is actually the vehicle I drive every single day, so these floor mats are going to come in handy in pretty much every situation. As you can tell, they've got a unique design here, and of course they will snap in to have a secure fitment. Aside from that, they've got the texturing here and the grooves to hold all the mud and dirt in place. Then they've got these high raised edges. That way it keeps all the mud from going outside of where the floor mat covers. It's even a custom fit. That way you know these are going to fit the specific vehicle that you order them for. Well, it doesn't get any easier than that. And this is what the fitment looks like in the front. Awesome, perfect fit. And then for the back, it's the same deal. It literally goes right along the lines of where it needs to be, and this is going to help a tremendous amount. If you need a set of floor mats to protect any of your vehicles, be sure to click the link in my description and check them out. Now back to the Bronco Raptor. Like I've already told you guys, I was super impressed by pretty much all of the driving characteristics of this big machine. Now whenever you compare it to something like the Rubicon 392, it was honestly worlds apart. I was super surprised, but in that 18 hours of driving, I learned a lot about this vehicle. So some of the things I wanted to mention for the interior is that these seats are actually a really nice place to be. I was kind of skeptical about these seats at first, but I really like the bolstering. I love the support, and I actually like how soft they are. They do have quite a bit of give, and that really lets you get settled into place. Now, I will say, if they were power seats where it had more adjustability, it probably would have been more comfortable. My back did get sore on the drive there and back, but my back gets sore in pretty much every vehicle. So I don't think that's anything to do with these seats. They are extremely comfortable, but I do think if they were power seats and had a little bit more adjustability, that would have been able to sustain me a little bit better on that long ride. Now, aside from the seats, the LCD display was absolutely awesome. I do hate that I can't configure a way to get the speed in the center of the gauge cluster, no matter which view I really switch to. As you can tell, you can actually switch to a few different views just like this, but there's no way for me to get the speed in the actual center. Aside from that, the full 12-inch display here is really good. I did have one issue where the sound quit working, which was pretty annoying, but I was able to resolve it. I'm not sure if it was because of my newer phone or if it's because of the Bronco Raptor, but for about 10 minutes there, I couldn't get any sound at all to come out of this stereo system, so that was a little bit annoying. The sound system is absolutely awesome. I really like the Bang & Olufsen sound system. It's not the craziest sound system in the world, but it's really good. You'll see those speakers right there in the corners as well, and it's got a little sub in the back. So everything comes together to make a really good sound, and it's extremely pleasant. Also, I really liked having this up here. It's a USB port. That way you can plug in things like the GoPro. So that's really cool that you're able to do that. Aside from that, the different modes actually worked really well. I drove it pretty much the whole way in normal mode, which worked just fine for me. The transmission is still a little bit jerky. That 10-speed is something I've got to get used to, or maybe there's an issue with it. Going between gears 3, 4, 5, and 6, this thing's jerky. It jerks a lot, whether it's changing to go up in gears or gearing down. It's kind of annoying, but I honestly got used to it on the drive. It's just a little more jerky than it should be, but maybe that's just part of the 10-speed. Now for the wind noise was not great. I honestly think that the wind noise is worse in the Bronco Raptor than it is in the Rubicons or the Rubicon 392, which I know is a far stretch to say, but I'm being 100% honest whenever I say these things are not as quiet as the Jeep Wrangler. Now for my fuel economy on the trip, I ended up getting right around 14 miles a gallon, which is not that bad. It's not good, but it's not that bad considering we were driving through the mountains. I know that this may sound a little crazy, but in all honesty, out of every vehicle I've ever owned, which has been quite a few, I believe I would take this for any road trip that I could possibly be going on. Now, this isn't the smoothest ride. It doesn't have the most power. It's not the best on fuel economy, and it's not the most off-road capable that I've owned. But in terms of just being really good at everything, I think this is the best, which is honestly really surprised me. Now, I know a lot of you guys are gonna ask, does this mean you like the Bronco Raptor more than the Rubicon 392? And I definitely don't. I think the Bronco Raptor is better for a day-to-day use vehicle. It's pretty much more practical in every situation, but the Rubicon 392 is just way more fun. The Rubicon 392 is a rough and rugged ride. It really sticks to the roots of true off-road machines. And this is like riding in a spaceship. The suspension is absolutely insane. I can't tell you guys enough about how impressed I am on this stock suspension. It's really mind-blowing, and if you haven't got a chance to try one out, you definitely need to. But if you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see next. And until next time, Godspeed.